Good evening, guys, and welcome to interview preparation session, which has been conducted by 360 PNG. So, in today's, as of now, first question for the day, guys. So, what are modules and packages in Python? So, what are they? What does they does in Python? So, if anyone knows the answer, can ping me in the chat box, and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. So, as we look into this, the modules in general are simple Python files with an extension of .py extension, as we all know, and we can have a set of functions, classes, variables which have been defined and have been implemented. So they can be imported and initialized once using the import statement. So if partial functionality is needed, so you have to import the classes or functions as per their import bus. So if you come across the packages, they allows the hierarchical structuring of a model namespace by using a notation called dot notation. So as modules helps to avoid classes between the global variable names, and similar manner packages helps to avoid classes between the module names. They just avoid to between the classes names. So creating a package is easy since it makes use of systems inherit file structure. So just stuff the modules into a folder, and there you have it. The folder name as a package name, import a module or it content or its contents from this package which has been required, the package name as prefix to the module name joined by a dot. So as we jump into the next question, what are global, protected, and private attributes in Python? So if anyone knows the answer, can ping me in the chat box, and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. So as we look into this, global variables are some public variables that are defined in a global space itself. So to use these kind of variables in the global space inside a function, we use a global keyword. So protected attributes. So these attributes which are defined with an underscore prefix to the identifier. Example, underscore Sarah, underscore team, underscore IPL, so on. So they can still be accessed any modified from outside the class they have been defined in, but a responsible developer should refrain from the doing so. So private attributes, these are the kind of attributes with double underscores as prefix to be the identifier. So for example, double underscore ans. So before keeping anything, before keeping initializing any string or any variable, you have to give a double underscore, which comes under the private attribute. So they cannot be accessed or modified from the outside directly and will result in any attribute error in such attempts. If you do any such attempts, if you want to access those kind of things from the outside the class, they just directly throws you an attribute error in such attempts. So as we jump into the next question, what is the use of self in Python? So if anyone knows the answer, can ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. So as we look into this, a self is used to represent the instance of a class. So with this keyword, you can access the attributes, methods of a class in a Python. So it binds the attributes with the given arguments. Self is used in different places and often thought to be a keyword. But unlike in C++, self is not a keyword in Python. It's not a keyword, it's just a step argument. So as we jump into the next question, what is underscore underscore in INIT underscore? What is this actually means in Python? So if anyone knows the answer, can ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. So as we look into this, here this function, it is a constructor. It's a method in Python and is automatically called to allocate a memory. So when a new object or instance is created, so all classes have this int underscore underscore in this method associated with them. So it helps in distinguishing methods and attributes of a class from local variables only. So they have been only distinguishing the methods and attributes of the classes only from local variables. So as we jump into the next question, how long can an identifier be in Python? So if anyone knows the answer, can ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah, as we look into this. So according to the Python documentation, as identifiers can be of any length, this peptide suggests that you should limit all lines to a maximum of 79. All the lines should be maintained with a maximum of 79 characters. So also this it also says the readability counts. So a very long identifier will violate this pep 1820. Apart from this, there are certain rules which are to be followed. There are certain rules, and some of them are: it can only begin with an underscore or a character from A to Z or A to Z, which means capitalize or uppercase or lowercase. It should be in between only this part, as well as only special character to be used here is underscore. So the rest of it can't contain anything from the like A to Z slash A to Z underscore 0 to 9. So no such things is contain anything else. So Python is case sensitive, as we discussed in the previous question. So as we look into this, how would you declare a comment in Python? How does you declare a comment in Python? So if anyone knows the answer, try to ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. So as we look into this, unlike like other languages like C++, Java, Python doesn't have like multi-line comments. So all it has only a hash. So if you keep a hash in front of any command, any variable or anything which you have been writing any statements, so it directly takes the whole statement as a command itself. If you are starting any line with a hash symbol, so that's how it works. So as we jump into the next question, we know all the rages these days, but to the truly accepting of the greatly technologies, you must know its pitfalls as well. So, would you like to talk about this? Like, what were the things? What were the pitfalls in this Python? What? So, if anyone like to know this, can ping me in the chat box, and we'll discuss the answer within it. Yeah. So as we look into this, so to be truly, you must have to accept the flaws. So there were some flaws in it. So those are Python interpreted nature impose a speed penalty on it. So while Python is great for lots of things, it is weak in mobile computing as well as browsers. So being dynamically typed, Python uses duck typing. So it is looks like a duck. It must be a duck. So this can raise somewhat a runtime errors while executing the program. So these were the some of the disadvantages in Python which we are looking at. So as we jump into the next question, when do we need break and continue in Python? So if anyone knows the answer, can ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer with you. So if we see here, we do have these things to be noted here, right? So yeah, both this break and continue are the statements that use a control flow in Python. So break stops the current loop from execution further and transfers it to the control of the next block. And it basically continues this jump to the next iteration of a loop without any exhausting it. So that's what it does. So as we jump into the next question, what is Python good for? Like, what is the importance of Python? Where it is most popular? So if anyone knows the answer, can ping me in the chat box, and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. So as you look into this, what is this Python, which is good for? So it is a jack of many trades. Like it checks for applications of Python to find out more. Like meanwhile, we can it can be useful it for web and internet development, desktop GUIs, scientific and numerical applications, software developments, applications in education, business, gamings, and 3D graphs. So these were the different things where we can use this Python. So as we jump into the next question, what is recursion? So if anyone knows the answer, can ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer with me. Yeah. So as we look into this, what is this recursion and all? So when a function makes a call to itself, it is termed as a recursion. But then in order for it to avoid formatting any infinite loops, we must have a base condition for it. So that's what it just actually means. So as we jump into the next question, what are lists and tuples in Python? So if anyone knows the answer, can ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. So as we look into this, both lists and tuples are different to each other, but there are the data types which we use in Python. So if you come across the list, it has its own representation, which are parentheses, and tuples they have been represented with square braces. So this list are mutable data types, whereas tuples are immutable data types. So this is the main difference in between the list and tuples. So this how they works. Each and every both the list and tuples has its own representation. They have been changed with each other. So as we jump into the next question, what are the benefits of using Python? So if anyone knows the answer, try to ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah, as we all know, this Python is an open source and it is a scripted language. It does take into consideration, it do have a functions, recursive, so each and everything. So it is free of cost. So when we are working on a project, it's an open source as well as a free of cost, by which it reduces the cost of doing a project. So these were some of the benefits of why to choose a Python, why to choose this Python as a programming language in many other conditions. So as we look into the next question, so what are eigenvalues and eigenvectors? So if anyone knows the answer, can ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. So as we look into this, eigenvectors helps in understanding the linear transformations. They are calculated typically for a correlation or covariance matrix in data analysis. As you come with the eigenvectors, eigenvalues, so they can be understood by strengths of a transformation in the direction of eigenvectors or the factors by which the comparison happens. So this is how it works. So as we look jump into the next question, what are different layers in CNN? If anyone knows the answer, can ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. So as we look into this, there are four layers in CNN. The first layer is convolutional layer. So this layer performs an operation with creating a smaller pictures windows to over the data. The second one is ReLU layer. So it converts all the native pixels to zero, and the output is it has been rectified some features maps. So as the next layer is pooling layer, it is a downsampling operator that reduces the dimensionality of the feature map. And the fourth one is fully connected layer. This layer recognizes and classifies object in the image. So yeah, that's it for the day, guys. Thanks for joining the meeting, and we'll catch up in the next session. Have a great